Okay, let's talk about a part of the real estate world you probably drive past every single day and never, ever think about. I mean, why would you? It's not sexy, it's not a glass skyscraper. But it's becoming one of the absolute hottest investments out there, and it's all because of that little Buy Now button on your screen.
I know, that sounds completely backward, doesn't it? Everything we're told about real estate value is about beautiful homes or fancy offices or bustling retail shops. But the entire engine of our economy is changing, and that change is creating some serious value in some, well, pretty ugly places. So stick with me, and I'm going to show you exactly why a boring old patch of asphalt might just be a modern-day gold mine.
All right, so what are we even talking about here? This whole world revolves around an asset class with a very bland name, industrial outdoor storage, or as everyone in the industry calls it, IOS. It's the gritty, blue-collar workhorse of commercial real estate. And this slide right here really gets to the heart of it. You know, on one side, you've got the real estate we all know, like apartment buildings. Value there is all about looks, right? Curb appeal, nice amenities, keeping your tenants happy. It's all about people. But then you look at IOS. Honestly, nobody cares if it's pretty. The value here is 100% about function. How many acres do you have? Can a giant 53-foot semi-truck turn around without a 10-point turn? Is the ground strong enough to not crack under tons of weight? It's about logistics, not luxury.
So, the big question is, why now? What's causing this sudden explosion in demand for, of all things, industrial lots? Well, the answer comes down to a single force that has totally rewired our entire world: e-commerce.
Think about Amazon. They basically perfected this idea of blitzscaling, growing at an insane breakneck speed to just completely dominate a market. And they built this incredible digital world. But that digital world casts a very, very real physical shadow. Every single thing you order online has to exist somewhere. It has to be stored, sorted, and shipped through a real-world supply chain. And that chain, my friends, is stretched to its absolute breaking point.
And this is where it all comes together. It's called the last mile, and it's the hardest part of the whole journey. See, when you click Buy Now, your package doesn't just magically appear. It travels from some giant warehouse hours away to a smaller local staging area. And that staging area is the iOS lot. It's the critical link in the chain. It's the messy, essential, and increasingly priceless bottleneck where stuff gets sorted and loaded onto the final delivery vans from FedEx or UPS. It's what makes 2-day or even 2-hour delivery possible.
Okay, so we get it. The demand is through the roof. But what makes IOS such a home run for the big money investors? Well, it really boils down to two key ideas that create this perfect storm of high returns and really strong protection from competition.
First up is something called a zoning moat. And it's exactly what it sounds like: a moat around your castle. See, cities have super strict rules about where you can park a fleet of loud, diesel-guzzling semi-trucks. Let's be honest, nobody wants a 24/7 logistics hub opening up next to their kid's school, right? So getting new land zoned for this kind of industrial use is a nightmare. It's expensive, it takes forever, and most of the time the answer is just no. And what that does is make existing INS sites incredibly valuable because new competition just can't pop up. You basically own a government-created monopoly.
The second piece of the puzzle is the cap rate. Now, don't let the finance jargon scare you off, because this is the most important number in real estate. It's actually a super simple way to figure out how much money a property makes. All you do is take the income the property generates in a year, subtract all the costs to run it, like taxes and upkeep, and then you divide that profit number by the price you paid for the property. That's it. It gives you a percentage, and it lets you compare the profitability of totally different investments, apples to apples.
And man, when you actually compare the cap rates, the story just jumps right off the page. A shiny new office building or a fancy apartment complex, you might get a 5, maybe 5.6% return. But a good ISO property, you're looking at 7%, maybe even higher. Now to you and me, that might not sound like a huge difference. But if you're an investment fund managing billions of dollars, that extra 1.5 to 2% is absolutely massive. It's the engine that's pulling mountains of cash into these humble paved lots.
So at this point, it sounds kind of like the perfect investment, doesn't it? Insane demand, almost no new supply, and fantastic returns. But there is a brutal truth lurking just under the surface. A single, hidden risk that is so bad, it can turn a dream deal into an absolute financial nightmare.
So what is it? What's the one thing that can completely sink the ship? The one mistake that can vaporize years of profit and maybe even bankrupt an investor? Well, it has nothing to do with finding a tenant or the economy. Nope, it has everything to do with the dirt itself. This quote,
This is from a real investor story, and it is just chilling. They were days away from closing on a property. The standard environmental report comes back, and bam, oil contamination in the soil. That can mean millions in cleanup costs, a total deal killer. They couldn't figure out why until they were walking the property and literally saw the backhoe that was used for the testing was leaking oil. It had contaminated its own sample. Now, they got incredibly lucky, but it just goes to show you how terrifying and unpredictable this risk can be.
And that's the nightmare scenario, right? These properties, they've been used for heavy industrial stuff for decades. Who knows what's been spilled, dumped, or buried there over the years? If you discover toxic waste after you buy the property, guess what? That cleanup bill is all on you. And the cost to fix a contaminated site can easily be more than the land itself is even worth. It's a hidden landmine just waiting to go off. This is why for any serious IOS investor, environmental due diligence isn't just important, it's everything. Before you even think about closing, you have to run what's called a Phase 1 assessment. It's like a background check for the land itself, combing through old records looking for any red flags. The goal is a clean report. If you get that, you're probably okay. But if they find anything suspicious, you've got to move to a Phase 2 study. And that means bringing in the heavy machinery, digging up soil, and doing some serious testing. It is expensive, it is time-consuming, and it is 100% non-negotiable. So, you take all these pieces, the e-commerce tidal wave, the zoning moats, the juicy cap rates, and this terrifying environmental risk, you put it all together. What does the future of this space actually look like? Well, let's take a peek at the 2026 outlook. This number, it's just staggering. By 2026, nearly $1.8 trillion in commercial real estate loans are coming due. Think about all the people who own office buildings and retail malls who borrowed money when interest rates were basically zero. They're going to be in a world of hurt. And all that turmoil is likely going to push even more big institutional money away from those risky sectors and towards something that looks stable and has high demand. Something that looks a whole lot like a safe haven. Something that looks like IOS. Which really leaves us with this one fascinating question to chew on. You know, for the last 100 years, the whole idea of real estate value has been about building up. Taller buildings, bigger malls, more houses. But as our lives become more and more digital, the physical world is literally being reshaped to serve our online habits. And it makes you wonder, what is valuable land anymore? Is it the place where we build our homes and offices? Or is it the boring, paved-over lot where we just park the trucks that make our new digital world possible?